about 30 seconds. We're just going to give everyone a chance to get into the room. Pretty excited today about a social media boot camp. A lot of offices right now are utilizing social media to communicate with their patients. And I think there's also a lot of offices out there that don't have social media in place, and they're missing this important communication mechanism to communicate what's going on with reopening the offices and PPEs. So definitely something to contemplate putting in place, and that's what Michael's going to help us with today. Additionally, a lot of offices have strayed away from social media because they think, Jonathan, I'm 60 years old. I'm going to retire in the next 5 years. Why would I start an Instagram account or Facebook? So I'm excited to have Michael come on, kind of help us with that, see what services they offer to help us manage our social media, or maybe there's someone in the office that we have champion that. I personally, when I start any social media account, I'm really, really lucky. And I'm lucky in the sense that I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I think that 15-year-old girls are the social media gurus. She understands more about social media than I ever will, but she definitely helps me out when needed. So we've got a good number of people in the room. Again, use the question and answer box to put your questions and comments in there from Michael as we go. Communicate with me through the chat feature. And with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to my good friend, Michael Anderson. And Mike, I look forward to this. I'm going to sit back, mute, and enjoy the show.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks again for having me back. I hope you guys are starting to see a pathway back to practices reopening. I know that we've got some of our dentists that are reopening in the San Diego area, and obviously around the country. Every state is on a different track, different pace, but it certainly feels like momentum is moving towards reopening. So we're going to start to prepare for that today. We're going to talk about finding your voice and really developing a playbook to reopen, really with an emphasis on social media. Before we get going, for those of you that have not gotten a chance to meet my wife or I, or have heard me speak in the past, I just want to do a quick intro. My name is Michael Anderson. The wonderful, beautiful woman in the photo there is my wife, Laura, and we own Wonderist Agency, which is a full-service marketing agency for dentists. We also have built a software product that we talked about a few weeks ago called Your Virtual Consult that helps dentists do virtual consults to generate both cosmetic leads and help triage emergency cases. So we've been working with dentists since about 2011. So, we've really gotten to love the dental industry. We've got many friends and colleagues here. And so it's been hard to watch as many of our dentists have been hit by this. And so we hope we can kind of help with that today as we come up with a plan. Just a little bit more about the agency. Here's part of our team. We call them the Wonder Buddies. So any of you that work with us, you know the Wonder Buddies well. And it's something we're really proud of. The one thing I'll editorialize on today is I think any of you that own businesses can relate to this. A lot of times people say, well, what makes you guys different? As a dentist, how can you be better than the person down the street? And a lot of times it just comes back to sort of the good old fashioned principles that make businesses great, which are people, processes, and we're incredibly proud of the team we have. You can see the office behind me here. Sad that it's empty, but just a wonderful home for a lot of creative people that do really good work and have taught me many of the things we're going to talk about today. So we've been doing this for 8 years. We've got 30 plus marketing professionals. I think we're up to 12 office dogs that are normally running around. And again, we're based in San Diego. Okay, before I get started, I just want you to know that if you guys are looking for a lot of the information that we're going to talk about today, if you're going to, want some of the social media templates, the Facebook ad templates, if you want, scripts to help overcoming objections, we've packaged all of that up and put it in an ebook. I promise this isn't one of those like marketing ebooks that, it's all fluff. It's all stuff that you already know. It's hands-on, nitty-gritty things that have really been helping our clients. And so we're basically giving you the resource that we prepared for our clients. If you want that ebook, go ahead and email me, and maybe someone can drop this email in the chat, michael.anderson@wonderistagency.com. Just shoot me an email, just say, hey, want the ebook, and I'll respond back and send it out to you guys. So hopefully that will help. All right, let's get going. So I wanted to start with this graphic. I saw this pop up sometime last week. I'm sure it's scientifically not a sound study, but I still think it's a helpful starting point for us. So in Pittsburgh, one of the news stations there ran a study, and they asked people, they said, how likely are you to do these things? So, first one was go to a concert. 9% of people said they'd do that. Second, 12% said they go to the movie. 13% go to the mall. 34% would go to church. 54% said they'd go to the dentist, and 55% said they'd get a haircut. So neck and neck with going back to the barber here. Now, why do I want to start on this? I think it's a helpful way for us to move forward today, in that there's two takeaways for me. One is people trust the dentist. You know, if you look at all these other people all these other industries we're looking at, there's distrust, there's concern. And I think most people look at dentistry, they look at their dentist and say, well, I go into that office and I know they are prepared for me. They have precautions already in place. This is not something new. When I go to the mall, I'm not used to seeing people in PPE. I'm not used to seeing them clean things down. I don't trust that. But my dentist, I know they already do things to help with this. So I have a higher level of trust. However, here's the other thing that we need to recognize. There's another part of that bar graph, right? There's the 46% of people that are not feeling confident. And I bet you normally that bar graph is at 99%, right? It's almost everyone says, I feel comfortable going to the dentist from a safety standpoint. And so that means that there is work to be done in educating and communicating to both existing patients and prospective patients. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump into it. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about finding a narrative that's going to help lead your recovery. We're going to talk about overcoming objections. We're going to talk about getting the word out, and then we're going to talk about how to do that on social. Now, you may say, well, wait a second, I thought this was social media boot camp. Why aren't we just jumping in, like, show me the Facebook ad funnel? What we want to do, and this is what I think a lot of people miss when it comes to marketing, and a lot of marketing agencies miss, is we need to have something to say before we talk about where we're going to say it. That's so important, and I hope you take that and think about it even as it pertains to your own marketing after your business is reopened. Many people will ask, say, well, does direct mail work? What about Facebook ads? Is SEO still relevant? They're talking about channels, but they don't step back and ask, do I have something to say that's different than the 15, 20, 40 other dentists around me? And so we want to make sure that you do, and we're going to start to talk about that today. So let's talk about your story. So here's one of our dentists, Dr. Coleman Meadows, Seaside Dental in La Jolla. And you know, this is kind of fun to start with. Here he is. He was able to get on the news and he was able to talk about the work that his team was doing with PPE and so, you know, and his involvement in the local dental society. This is a great visual example of telling a story that's different. So I'm going to say something right now that I think might be, some of you may disagree with this. So this may not be a popular thing to say, but I'm going to start here, and hopefully reasonable minds can disagree. I think that dentistry as a whole, and dentists specifically, have lost control of the narrative through this moment in time. I think that a lot of the organizations that support dentistry, certainly a lot of the government bodies that are there to help protect our society, have not created a streamlined, easy to understand position for dentists. And you know, my wife and I have been scratching our heads since this started, because our position and our thought is that dentists of all local businesses are uniquely situated to deal with an outbreak like this. Using PPE effectively in office is not new for any of you that are practicing. And understanding infectious disease is not a new challenge, lest anyone forget that there's been, you know, the HIV outbreak, that there's the common cold, flu, herpes, and other serious diseases that come through offices every day. And so I think dentists are in and should be in a unique position to speak out and say, listen, let us lead from the front. Let us help other businesses who are just adapting to this. Let us help talk about what it looks like to do this well. And, you know, it's been frustrating, I know, for a lot of our dentists who have felt like they're sitting on the sidelines, kind of being shamed into saying, listen, people should be afraid. And that's not in any way to discount the fact that there are real new concerns that need to be addressed. But I trust our dentists to be able to do that. And so we're going to talk about that. So the thing I'd like to ask you to start thinking about is take credit for what you know and the expertise you have, and become educators. Because again, I think about what our good dentists do. If I was sitting in one of your chairs and you said, Mike, you need a root canal, and you just started working, I would feel uncomfortable. I would feel scared. Our good dentists have that need conversation and say, let me show you what is happening, and let me talk to you about your options and why we should move in this direction. This is no different. And so use those chairside skills to educate people about something that you already do well, and something that I know all of you spent a lot of time evolving to meet the new challenges we have. So I want to go through an exercise that I hope helps frame your mindset as you think about what you need to say, what your story is, before we go and we talk about, shouting from the rooftop. So first of all, I just want you to think out loud, or if you have a notebook, maybe write this down. What diseases do you successfully manage today? What are those diseases? You know better than I do, but I think there's a long list. There's a long list of things that you successfully manage. What are old protocols that you currently have in place to manage infectious diseases? What have you been doing since you graduated dental school or before to make sure that patients and your team stay safe? Again, I think there's a long list of things that you already do. What new protocols are you adding? There's a lot of creative things. There's sort of these remote waiting rooms that we're creating in parking lots, new ways of communicating, virtual consults, new PPE, face shields, all sorts of things, even new tools to mitigate aerosols. There's a lot of different things, and every office is doing this differently, but what are you doing? And after kind of going through that list, as you look to reopen, and again, everyone's going to have a different answer. I'm not leading you to yes or no, but you should be asking yourself every day, rechecking back in on this. Do you feel confident that you and your team have the best plan in place to treat patients and keep them safe and to keep yourself safe? And hopefully you're moving towards the answer yes. And if not, then you need to go back through those questions and ask other ones to make sure that you do feel like you're moving in that direction. And if the answer is no, then that means that, we don't have a strong message to go and to share in these other channels yet as we think about reopening. So as far as your story is concerned, what are some important things we need to do? You need to make it personal, right? If you just come back and start talking about PPE, if you are just technical, people don't connect with that. Closing your office was personal. Reopening it is personal. And so make sure that you connect with your patients by being vulnerable, by being personal. Here's an example, Dr. Brian Packard from Bowling Green. They are opened, and he created a video. He's excited. He's back to work, and he said, we have some exciting news. We're opening back up tomorrow. We want to thank patients for being so supportive. I'm not going to read it all to you, but this is a personal message from him. Any of you that are reopening should consider doing this. We're going to talk about this more later, but video is so powerful. You should be using video on social media to be more vulnerable, to share with people what your experience has been and how excited you are to get back to work to serving them. So again, here's another little exercise for us to do. Let's talk about the personal side of this. We talked about the experience side. Let's talk about the personal side. Let's reconnect. What's your dream for your business? Why are you doing this? Why do you own a dental practice? I think that is always a very helpful centering thing for my wife and I. When we make decisions, we go back to what are we doing this for? Hopefully you have a mission statement. Reread that. Maybe change that. That's something that's going to help guide the next couple months and really the next, hopefully, couple years for you. What have you sacrificed or overcome to get here? Another really big thing to recognize, and this goes into the idea of being okay, being vulnerable, right? Everybody is struggling in this moment. Everyone's been affected. And I think that I find myself connecting with the people and businesses that are willing to step forward and say, let me share and be vulnerable about what this means to me and what my hope is moving forward. And what did it feel like to close your doors of your normal practice? I like starting stories this way. So if you're going to record a video or write an email, I think that's a great way to start. 5 weeks ago, when I turned the key in my office and walked away not knowing when I'd reopen it, this is how it felt. And today I'm coming back so excited to be able to share with you that we're reopening on this date and our team is working hard behind the scenes to get ready for you. That's the story that you want to share. So make sure you're connecting with that. Again, the impact on your team. You don't need to pretend like layoffs haven't happened, that your team has not been affected. Those are things that we need to be okay sharing so that people feel they're building that trust. And you want to have trust because you're going to talk about some difficult things with them. So you want to make sure that at every level, you're not just putting a smile on your face and saying nothing to see here. That is not the strategy that's going to help you rebuild. And then again, what does it feel like to reopen? There's such a powerful sort of story of rebirth that we're all going to go through. Make sure that you're embracing that and that you have your feelings written down somewhere so you can share it with people. And then what's your hope for the future? Again, always be forward thinking. There's so much opportunity. that is the story that we want to paint and focus on as we start to change the narrative and move forward. There will be things that change in dentistry, but you are all up for that challenge. It has happened before. I know many people before me have talked about it. We didn't have to use gloves. Everyone thought it was crazy that we did, and now we can't imagine a world not doing that. Our hope for the future needs to be bright, and there's so much opportunity in front of us. So let's jump 5 years forward. I want you to think about, it's hard to see that, but think about, don't think 2 months from now, 4 months from now, 5 years from now. Do you think your practice will be in a position to thrive? And if your answer is yes, then bring that energy into the strategy and the narrative that you share with patients moving forward. So hopefully we're starting to form a bit of a narrative that you can bring back and shout from the rooftops. Let's talk about overcoming objections. There are things that we know patients are going to be concerned about. PPE is one of them. Patients are more educated about PPE than ever before. I think many people didn't know what PPE is, and now it's part of our common dictionary that we all use. So be prepared, meet with your team, and make sure that you guys are all very solid on your policies and procedures. I'm not gonna lie, it's clear that there are some offices that have been adhering to PPE guidelines more than others. And this is a moment when everybody is having to shift and make sure that everything is accounted for. So my Siri is picking me up here, so she's listening to this as well. Let me just turn that off. And then make sure that you're going to be an educator. We've talked about this a bit before. Those need conversations individually are important. Make sure you have a way to talk to everyone. So talk to patients both individually and then have a strategy through email, through social media, and through your website to educate about the new changes in your office. And then affirm. Let people know that this is nothing new. It's not like your Home Depot. It's not like your Chipotle where you've had to change everything in the last 6 weeks. This is really something you've been doing for a long time. So here's one pro tip for you. Anyone that's heard me and Laura talk in the past know that we are big fans and huge proponents of connecting with people through authentic photography and video. You need to keep doing that, but don't hide behind your PPE. You don't want to scare people. So PPE needs to be present, but you can still show your face. Take the mask down, put it around your throat, smile. Just make sure that people still can connect with you. So don't hide behind PPE. I don't think that's going to be a good way to reopen either. Let's talk about aerosols. So this is a conversation that I think has been largely within the dental community, but it will continue to be a conversation outside of it. And so I'm sure a lot of dentists are looking at this scary photo over here saying, no, like, let's not talk about aerosols. I don't want to bring that up any more than it already is. What we've seen in difficult moments like the one we're in is the people that take things head on, our leaders, prepare for it, are going to do better. So make sure, even though clinical perspectives can differ, some of you are going to look at this and say aerosols have been an issue for years. I think we're already in a pretty good spot. Others of you are freaking out about this and saying the whole industry is going to change. You need to know what your position is, and you need to have a strategy for your team to minimize risk here. And then again, you need to educate patients about this. Don't put your head in the sand. Talk about what you're doing and your perspective on aerosols, because your competitors will. And if you're not, they will leverage this against you and say, oh, dentist down the street, I can't believe they're not telling you what their strategy is. Here's what we do. So make sure you have something to say. I think one of the best things to do, again, is to create a video discussing aerosol risks, explaining your response, and then put that on your website, put it on social media, and send it out via email. I hope you're noticing a trend here. There's kind of these 3 different areas that we can communicate cheaply, right? We don't have to spend any more money to hopefully put it on your website, go on social media, and send an email. Okay, and then financial concerns. Another thing we know people are going to be bringing into offices. You look at this crazy bar chart over here. We can see all of, so 2020, we have some of the lowest unemployment our country's ever seen. And then, just rocketing unemployment. Over 30 million people have declared for unemployment. So what does that mean? You need to have membership plans in your office, and you need to start considering that. If you don't, people are losing their insurance. They're going to be more cost conscious. I belong to a membership plan. Our dentists, the Strummers at New Image Dental, One of the reasons we chose them is they had a new patient special. It was reasonable. It wasn't like $35. It was reasonable. And they have a membership plan. And so we looked at 2 different offices and we chose them because of that. And we couldn't be happier. And then, as I already alluded to, have a new patient special. People are losing their insurance, but they still need to come to the dentist. It can be that competitive edge that nudges you out. And don't make it crazy. Have a reasonable offer. If you guys want help with membership plans, we're not experts in that. I've got a wonderful, wonderful friend, Jordan Comstock at BoomCloud, and they've got a fantastic tool. Go check them out. I think they've got a whole guide that kind of walks through this. BoomCloud is the company we'd recommend. There's others as well, and I'm sure there's other good ones, but they do a great job kind of managing and automating membership plans. Okay, and then overall office safety. There's a lot of different moving parts now. Should I touch the door handle? Do I sit in a waiting room? How are operatories cleaned? All of those things that patients want to know, you need to have a plan to outline that. So there's a link here. And again, anyone that wants this presentation, because I do have resources in here, just send me an email. It's going to be at the end again, and hopefully it's in the chat, but michael.anderson@wonderistagency.com. But there's this dentist that did a great fit, not one of our clients, but they did a great job basically filming every step for patients so they can prepare. So you can see that when patients come up to the door, they can use a QR code with their phone. They can basically start communicating with the front desk, sit in their car, come into the office. It's really a great video example. So make sure that you have something to prepare patients for the new normal when they come back. So, everything from printing a sign to the door, create instructional video, emailing protocols, and then add it to your website so people can research and prepare. Okay, so we've got our story. We know what objections people are going to have, and I hope you all agree we need to meet them head on, right? We shouldn't put our head in the sand. We got to get out in front of it. Now, how do we get the word out? So there's a couple of things we'll talk about, and then we're going to deep dive into social media a bit more. Phone outreach is key. You need to make sure that your front desk is starting to reschedule patients when you know you have a date that you're shooting for. So I don't need to tell you all about this. We do have a resource for those of you that email me that we worked with Sandy Pardue on, and it's a good way to just get some objections, to fight objections if people are concerned about some of the different stuff we talked about. It's a little script that your front desk can use. So that's a resource. I'm not going to spend as much time on this, but of course, get on the phone and start calling. Send out an email or a letter. It's not old-fashioned. If you guys are not using your email right now, you're missing out. I don't think I've ever looked forward to getting an email from my accountant or our legal team more than right now. When our accountant emails said, Laura, get over here. We've got a new resource to talk about PPP, not PPE, PPP. That's a whole nother conversation. People are hungry for information. There's so many questions. Use the channels you have. I hope you have an email list. If you don't, boy, good kick in the butt to realize that's something you need to take seriously moving forward. But you should be sending out a couple emails as you go back to work, letting people know you're open. And here's the good news. We work with dentists all over the country. As our dentists are opening up and sending emails, they're getting like 90 patients, 100 patients responding back, calling the office saying, get me in. So it's working. People want to come back, but you got to find a way to communicate with them. And if you have an older skewing community, you might need to think about sending a letter. Okay, we just went back. There we go. Let's go forward. Okay, and then video. We've already talked about this, but video is the best way for you to tell your story. People can see your emotion, they can connect with you, they can see your team, and you can visually show them what you are talking about. So consider a welcome back video. Consider a video about your story, right? We kind of walked through that in the beginning. What did it feel like to close? Talk about the dream you have for the practice. What does it feel like to reopen? What's your hope for the future? That's impactful. Talk about your new procedures. Walk people through that, and then have your team get involved if that's something that you feel your team is prepared to do, and have them affirm that they're ready and excited to have patients come back in the door. Now, again, there's this post from Dr. Packard. If you guys want this presentation, you can actually watch it and kind of see what he did. I think it's a great example of how to get back to work. Okay, and then finally, get the word out, right? You need to use your website to do this. It's your digital storefront. It's a great place for you to make sure you've got a consistent message. And think about this. A lot of us have been ordering takeout. When you go to those restaurants that you like and you look at their website and it hasn't been updated in 5 years, I don't feel confident that they're ready. They're sitting by the phone and they're going to pick up. So I go somewhere else. You want to make sure your website looks like it's been up to date and that it's addressing this moment in time. So you want to have a banner, you want to have a section or a page that talks specifically about what your team is doing to address this moment in time. So one other little pro tip here. Now, we've all been on websites that have live chat. If you guys want to take it to the next level, add live chat so people can message you from your website and say, are you open? What are you doing? It's a safe way to communicate. Love it or hate it, more and more people want to message over call. I'm old fashioned. I love picking up the phone. If any of you want to talk to me after this, give me a call. That's the way to talk to me. If you text me, it's going to take me a day or two to get back to you. But I know a lot of people on my team, people younger than me, they want to text, they want to message. So at some point, you got to consider meeting people where they're at and adding live chat to your website. Okay, so let's talk about social media. Let's dive into it. Let's get social here. So for any of you that are still holding on to this idea that social media is not for me, that's something that my kids do or my grandkids do, or it's for younger people. Consider this: 3.8 billion with a B people use social media. That is basically half of the world's population. It's amazing. So it truly is the way that we're all connected. Here's another interesting fact. Lest we think that maybe people go on once a week, maybe it's something people downloaded one time and they forgot about, most social media users average 2 hours and 30 minutes of use. Now, again, that could be a sobering fact for many of us. Maybe this is not the direction we want the world to go, but it is in fact the direction the world is going. And I wonder in this moment in time, how this number has changed, right? This is a pre-COVID-19 number. This number could have doubled or more since everybody is at home and there is a lot less to do. Okay, so one thing that was on the other slide is I think an average person has 8 social media platforms that they use. And you may say, well, that sounds crazy, but keep in mind platforms like YouTube, Reddit, Pinterest, Twitter, those are all social media platforms. It's not just Facebook and Instagram. Today, we're only going to talk about what I think are kind of the big two for dentists, right? Facebook, which has 2.4, basically 2.5 billion monthly users, people that engage monthly, and then Instagram, 1 billion. Now, for those of you that don't know, Facebook owns Instagram. So they're separate social platforms, but they are owned by the same company. I'm also going to, for those of you that have younger kids, that are paying attention to kind of the new trends, I'm going to just briefly talk about TikTok. It's got 800 million monthly active users. It's certainly a growing social media platform. I think it is not going to be one that is as effective or necessary for dentists because it's harder to look at things localized, right? We're not using TikTok to see the community that's around us in 5 to 10 mile radius. It's more interacting with people on a national or international level. So, we're going to focus on platforms that are discovery platforms for local businesses. That's where you want to spend most of your time. Let's talk about Facebook first. All right. So what is unique about Facebook? Why should you care about it? Well, Facebook users, it's the largest social platform, but here's something to think about. It's really the only major social platform that asks for people to sign up, not people with usernames. So here's the difference. When you sign up for Facebook, you have a first and a last name. And most people are themselves. They're not using fake identities. Now, there's a whole show about catfishing, right? People do make up identities. But most people sign up as themselves. It's kind of unique. And all the other platforms, they have you sign up with kind of like a username. Like, for example, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my username is Michael James and for Anderson. So Michael James AND. That's my username. That's not my real name. So the fact that it has people is kind of unique. The other thing that Facebook is really unique about is that it really has shown a big investment in messaging, right? So there's Facebook Messenger, which a lot of you probably used at some point just to talk to people. Facebook bought WhatsApp, which is the largest platform that people internationally message on. And then I don't know if you guys have seen these cool commercials where Facebook has created this little product called Portal, which is letting people communicate via video. And what a timely product that was. My wife and I have it. We have a 4-month-old at home. And so it's been a great way for us to be able to stay in touch with our parents and be able to hold the baby and kind of show them off. So Facebook is a big messaging focused company. It also, of all the social platforms, is kind of uniquely built for business. You know, if you go on Instagram, there's some business features for sure, but your profile doesn't change, right? You basically have photos you can post and videos, and that's it. Well, Facebook's different. You can actually have a Facebook listing for your business. So look on the side here, you can see there's this photo. You can add services. So if you do dental implants, dental crowns, you have same-day CEREC, you can list those things. People can find it through Facebook. There's reviews. Instagram does not offer reviews for businesses, right? It doesn't distinguish between a business account and an individual account on that level. You can put offers, videos, events. You can even hire on Facebook. So it's really a platform built for business. So use those tools. One thing that's important to think about, if you have not been active on Facebook, this also connects back to how people find you on the internet. So Google and other search engines look to see how active you are, how much information you provide in different spots, not just Facebook, but a lot of different areas. You want to make sure that you build your listings out and you have good information on them, because it's going to help people find you in search engines. And then reviews. This one, don't overlook this. I think we all know that reviews are a big deal. Word of mouth has always been the most important way for practices to grow, and that has manifested online through reviews. People that come to your practice that are willing to share their good opinion of you. 47% of people surveyed have written a Facebook review in the past year. That's compared to 25% of people who've done that on Google and 16% that have done that on Yelp. So Facebook is absolutely a platform that people are using to make decisions about businesses. Now, if you're saying, well, I have not gotten a Facebook review, so I don't know if that makes sense to me. Here's the thing, you need to ask. You need to have a process in place. Don't just cross your fingers, have a plan in place. And there are some great tools out there. You know, there's Revenue Well, there's Swell CX, there's Bird Eye, there's all of these tools built to help you get reviews. Automate the process. Make sure you're asking people through a text message, not an email. But ultimately, the ask needs to happen in person. Your office manager, your assistant, yourself, someone needs to say, did you have a good experience today? And when someone says yes, say, great. You're going to get a text message. And when you get that text message, I know your day is busy, but if you could just share that, our whole team reads that. It means a lot to us. I know you're busy. Could you please share that when you get that? I promise you that's going to be a game changer, and you're going to start seeing more and more reviews. It sounds simple. Take me up on it. Try it if you haven't, and you're going to be amazed. So what are the demographics of Facebook? I'm not going to go and read every single one of these. Suffice to say, Facebook is a very flat, well-rounded platform. There are people, look at this, 88% of 13 to 17-year-olds are on Facebook. 62% of people over 65 are on Facebook. So it's pretty comprehensive. Education levels, pretty even. People's income levels, pretty even. So most people are on Facebook. There's some little differences, but overall, it's pretty even. So when you think about Facebook, here's what I want you to think about. Facebook equals business. This is the social platform that you really want to integrate and incorporate from a business perspective. Build out the listings. Make sure that you're leveraging the business features that it has. And then Instagram. Oh, and so we're going to talk about how to do that. So if you're saying, what the heck does that mean? Here we go. Make sure that you build out your page. I would recommend that you have a logo in your profile. So we can see Precision Dental. This is clean, professional. I can tell it's a business. So put your logo in your profile. Make sure it's not being cropped off We've all seen that where someone uploads a logo and you can't read it. Or have a headshot of if there's one dentist, make sure that you have a headshot so it shows up as the person. Those are the two best practices, okay? Next, update your cover image or video. So if you guys are on Facebook, you've claimed your business listing on Facebook, you have a page that's a business page, you're gonna notice you have a billboard. It's basically like a digital billboard, right? My favorite thing to do here is to record a video. Now, if you have a professional video, put it up there. But if you don't have an excuse. In fact, this week, while you still have time before you go back, you can take out your phone and hold it horizontal. Don't do it vertical. It's not going to work that way. Hold it horizontal and just record a 1 to 2 minute welcome video that introduces yourself, goes back to the story we talked about, right? And then upload it there. And that is way more personal when someone comes to your page like, wow, I feel like I'm getting to know you. So use that banner space and consider adding a video to it. Update business information. Guys, Facebook and other business listings update every couple months, right? Think about your phone. Your phone is always saying, hey, new software update. Same thing with our social media profiles and stuff like that. They have new features that come out. So it's probably time to go back and check in on this and say, well, am I missing stuff? So you want to update your description to talk about COVID-19 protocols, right? Put that in there. Update your hours of operation. Maybe that's changed. Maybe you're extending hours. Don't forget to do that on Facebook. Check for missing contact information. Make it easy for people to reach out to you. And then there's also this little thing here. You can see the story. So you can talk about different little milestones for your business. One more way for people to interact with you, and one more way for Facebook and other search engines to lift you up and say, this is someone who has more information. So that's something that you guys need to go check into. Okay, I'm such a broken record on this, guys, but please, if there's one thing that you do, make the commitment to yourself that when you're back in that office, you're going to celebrate your office. You're going to take it seriously. You've all spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building your office out, hundreds of thousands of dollars on equipment. And I guarantee you, if I went to 90% of your websites, I wouldn't see it. I would see stock images. I would see walls of text. If I go to your social media profiles, the same thing, fun facts, more stock images. That's not what people connect to. You're just screaming into the void. You need to add office photos. Photos of your team, things that people connect to. Look at this, Mansfield Orthodontics. Who would not want to go into that dental office? It's beautiful. It's redefining what a dental office might look like. That's so cool. You need to show off what you have that makes you different. And if you don't have an office like Mansfield, then that's fine. Find another creative way to take photos. It could be out in your community. It could be the people on your team, but there's a way to do this that's going to connect with people. Please leave the stock images behind. It's not going to work. Okay, and so remember we talked about Facebook being more of a messaging focused platform. Instagram has Messenger too, but Facebook is working to kind of merge them all together. Here's some cool stuff that you can do. You can activate a greeting on your actual Facebook page. Have you noticed when you go on some Facebook pages, a little box pops up and it says, we're here to help. We're here to chat. If you do that, it is significantly more likely that people will interact back with you. So activate that greeting, that's the official thing it's called, to make sure that you get people's attention. Now, only do that if you're going to have someone on your team that's going to be able to respond to that. This is one of those moments when we're fighting to get our practices back open that I hope someone's willing to step up and say, yep, I'm on Facebook anyway. Happy to do it. And make sure they respond quickly because, again, this is where it gets a little more granular. Some of you probably noticed it will tell you how long businesses take to get back to you. An average of 5 minutes, an average of 24 hours, an average of 1 week. Well, if your average is like 2 or 3 days, people aren't going to message you. But if you can see that someone gets back to you within 2 or 3 minutes, patients are going to ask questions. They're going to be more likely to say, I'm a new patient. I wanted to see if you're open. I had a question about X, Y, Z. What a great way to get new patients and to make sure that you're different and you're standing out from the crowd. Pro tip, some of you may know about this. You can build messenger bots. This is like next level. Like if you want to be the A+ student in the class, what you can do is you can take the pressure off of your team, right? Someone doesn't have to sit there and respond back. You can have a computer program that asks people questions. Are you a new patient or an existing patient? And depending on what they answer, you can ask additional questions and get information to help understand what the next step is. It automates this process. It's super powerful. It takes a little time. Happy to answer questions about that. That's a whole nother topic. If you guys want to learn about how to do messenger bots, that's a whole nother hour that we can talk about that. So we don't have time today. Okay. So we talked about this. I jumped the shark a little on this one, but ask for reviews. You know, here's a script, literally, and it's kind of what I said before. I'm not going to read it again, but for those of you that do send me that email, just use this script, and I promise you're going to double or triple the number of reviews that you're getting on Google or on Facebook. And then, you know, adding services and special offers, right? It's just one more way to let someone who's interacting with you, doing research about you, to say, okay, this is the right spot for me. So special offers, if it's something that you want to promote, put it on Facebook. You can boost it. You can get it out there, pay a little money, let people know that you've got this special offer, or help people understand what services make you different. Do you offer pinhole treatment? Do you do biomimetics? Are there things that are different about you that you want to really brag about? Show it off. Let people know. Because if you don't tell them, someone else is going to jump in line and say, I do that. All right. So that's our little, you know, that's our talk on Facebook. I want to shift gears and talk about Instagram here. So, you know, Facebook, again, business, right? Instagram, engagement. Facebook is bigger, but Instagram gets more engagement. So, you know, in fact, brands see engagement rate 10 times higher on Instagram than they do on Facebook. So it's significant. And this is where you want to reach people and communicate with people. So Instagram stories, let's talk about them. Hopefully some of you are starting to learn about Instagram stories a little bit. And if you guys don't, I'm going to show you an example in a minute. Basically, if you're on Instagram, traditionally there's just been a feed of photos and videos that you can scroll through. Well, now right at the top, you're going to see a bunch of little circles. And it's kind of, I like to think of it as a very hyper local TV feed into your friends and family and the local businesses that you follow. And it's this snapshot that shows you what they're doing in their life. You can just use your phone and you can just take a couple videos or photos and put it on a little mini TV feed. And 59% of millennials, 70% of Gen Z users watch Instagram stories. That's a big amount. That seems like something you might want to connect to people on it. And the cool thing here is you don't have to pay to do it, right? It's something that you can actively reach people, and you can reach hundreds of people without having to spend any money. So 70% of users now look up a brand on Instagram. If you think that all the stuff I'm talking about, well, that's because people want to just look at other beautiful people. They want to look for cool clothing brands. You know, Instagram is just, you know, it's not for dentistry. I beg to disagree. We have seen so many of our clients build their communities on Instagram and connect with people on Instagram. So, I think one other interesting fact, 40% of Instagram's ad revenue is for stories. That means that companies are seeing success in reaching people in that local, hyper-local sort of TV feed that is provided by Instagram stories. Okay, so what's the difference between Instagram and Facebook? In a word, Instagram skews younger. Look at this bar graph here. You can see it's almost this triangle. The younger you are, the more likely you are to be on Instagram. Now, I bet there's a couple dentists shaking their heads saying, well, I don't have a lot of 13 to 17-year-olds choosing to come to the dentist. I'm out. Okay, maybe. We know Instagram is growing. We know that there is a big segment of people. Look at this, 30 to 49, 40% of people. I fit into that category. I have Instagram. 40% of us have Instagram, and it's going to keep growing. So this is a platform that you want to be on because it's going to shift, and you're going to see more and more people that are using this as the primary way for them to interact with the world around them. Okay, so if Facebook is your business, Instagram is your brand, and they cross over, guys. So I'm not saying that you just do one way and one the other, but if you have to think about them one way, Facebook is your business and Instagram is your brand. That's where you want to really lean into the platform and set your expectation. So let's talk about this a bit more. What are your strengths as you build a brand? Let's lean into Instagram and say, okay, if it's my brand, what am I going to do here? What are your strengths? Do you have a beautiful office? Or maybe that's not you. Maybe technically you're just really, you have beautiful before and after photos. Maybe you're just a dog person. That's the big part that defines you. Or maybe your team is goofy and silly and you guys love to take funny photos. Find one or two things that really you think define your brand and make that part of your content creation strategy, right? Really the best way to do this is to pick 3. So you could say, all right, before and after case studies, I'm going to post one of those. I'm going to post a FAQ video that answers a question that people ask. And then I'm going to post a funny photo of our team and I'm going to just cycle 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's a great way to celebrate your brand and do it authentically. Next, you want to think about your audience. Build content for them. If you're a pediatric practice, are kids your audience? I would say moms and dads are your audience, right? Build content for them. Are you doing ortho? Well, at that point, moms, maybe high schoolers. Maybe we're trying to almost tap into the popularity contest and say, here's some other people you may know that come to me. Do you have an older skewing demographic? That may change how you use social media. Maybe that pushes you closer to Facebook and say, I really see 60 plus and Facebook's where they're going to be at. That's okay. And then what's your aesthetic? One thing you want to do is you want to create consistency in your brand. Brands that are consistent, and I don't know if I have this stat in this presentation, but they see like 25% more revenue. That's money coming in the door if you have a brand that's consistent. Think about that. What does that mean? I know not all of us are graphic designers, and so it's kind of like, well, explain that. You want to make sure that you're using, if you have fonts, if you have your logo, all of that stuff is the same. And if you're using colors and filters, you're not going all over the place. I know it's fun, but pick 1 or 2 things and just stay with them. And so again, that's a whole nother topic to go into the nitty-gritty of like, how do we physically design things so they look consistent? That's where you should probably either work with a marketing agency, someone on your team, or it's a whole nother topic to talk about and learn about. And then build a plan, just like anything in life, right? You need to have a plan for this, and there's some great tools to do that. Airtable. Oh, I love this tool. It's like this cool, it's like Google Spreadsheets or Microsoft Excel on steroids. It's super cool. It's free. I know that's always like the thing we look for, right? But if you want to build really powerful content calendars for free, use Airtable. You can drop in images, write text, you can customize everything. It's super cool. Unfold. This is for people that are a little bit more tech savvy. It's an app that you can download. So go to the App Store, download Unfold, and it lets you plan out your content calendar. And then Buffer, this is like, this is what our team uses. This is a pro tool. You have to pay for it. It lets you plan out and schedule posts. So you can actually, sit there, have someone on your team come up with 10 posts and schedule it for the next month. It's cool, but it's a little bit more of a pro tool. Okay. So I did have this fact in here: consistent and focused brand presentation across platforms increases revenue by 23%. And I promise you, this is not one of those things like, oh, maybe for Coca-Cola, maybe for the local restaurant. Nope. Local brands that have their brand together. It looks professional. It increases their revenue. Think about this. Think about how you choose to make your buying decisions. We interact with businesses by and large that we feel are more professional. They're more together. It builds trust. Do the same in your own practice, and you can grow your revenue. Maybe it's not 23%, but even if it's 10, I think most of us would say that's good. Okay, I promise I won't do this too many more times, but if you guys don't believe me about stock images, and you say, yeah, I kind of like stock images. When stock images are replaced with real photos, we see an increase in conversion of 161%. I don't think I have to convince a lot of you of this, honestly. I think most of you go on, I love this example. Some of you heard me say this before. If you're choosing between two restaurants, I love Italian food. One has stock images of Italy, stock images of pizza and spaghetti. The other has real photos of the restaurant, of the team, of the chef, of the food. Which one are you going to choose? And we would all choose the same place, I think. Most of us, hopefully. The same is true for you guys. So if you're posting on social media, don't think you can check the box. Those days are gone. If you think you can post an uplifting meme or a fun dental fact, maybe if it's really good, you'll get some engagement. But what people crave is connection to other people. That's what social media is. And you need to build a strategy that's around authentic content. So less is more. Don't freak out and say, I need to create, oh my gosh, I need to put my whole life on display now. No. Even if you post 1 or 2 times a week and it's something that's authentic, it's going to be better than nothing. Okay, so that's a great segue. How do we create effective content? Here's some examples in the back. You guys can hopefully even just see from this example, these are the type of practices you'd like to engage with. We've got, Dr. Dara from Buckwalter Dental. Just, the guy is truly like the nicest guy in the world. But I mean, you can kind of feel it a little bit. There's Dr. Brad Picott. I mean, just one of the most dynamic dentists I know. He's playing saxophone on the weekend. He records it and posts it. He's at the gym. He's one of these guys that's going and doing CrossFit. He creates this hype up video and posts it. Who do you think is going to start connecting with that? Other people in those communities, right? That's awesome. He's got it down. We've got Third Coast Window. All these practices understand good content. Okay, so 20 years ago, we know that people were looking at magazines and newspapers. I hope we've talked about enough of this today to convince you all that things have shifted. People are now on their mobile devices, and social media is the new place that we go for information. Now, that may not be the best thing, but that's the reality. And so we need to meet people where that, look at this, if you guys want examples of sort of what you can be posting. So Mansfield Orthodontics, Dr. Altimos, just, it's such a cool example of what you can do. This is during COVID-19. So she says, this post that's kind of behind here, she's excited to share what they've been working on. They're not going to totally let us know yet, but they're hard at work on something. And then this other post, I'm so excited to share what we've been up to finally. She's giving you updates. Well, her practice is closed. She's hard at work. She's still connecting with people. And I don't know if you guys can see this. I cut it off on the back one, but 34 people interacted with this. Now, is that the best social media response ever? No, but that's building a little community. People care about her, and she's staying in touch with them. This is a great example of the kind of stuff you can do. Sometimes we get asked this question, well, how much should I share? What's professional? It's different for each one of you. Some of you love cooking food at home. You're, sort of a chef in the making. It's okay to share that stuff. If that's who you are, and patients know that about you. They ask you, hey, what's for dinner tonight, doc? Lean into it. Make that part of who you are online. If you're one of those people that says, oh, I hear this guy talking about creating videos and posting stuff about my life, that's just not me. I don't want to do that. That's okay. Maybe clinically, that's where you're strong. You love educating patients. So go outside your box a little bit and create educational videos where you answer patients' questions. That's something you can do. But don't be afraid of connecting people to your personal life, your family, things that you do. Find the line that works for you. Some dentists are going to be like Dr. Picott, playing the saxophone, working out at the gym. I mean, this guy's just vibrant, and he, if he walks in the room, you know it. Other people aren't. Dr. Picott, that's okay. Okay, I love this slide. I hope this is another one for those of you that are kind of like listening to this while you're, going about your morning or afternoon here. Tune back in for a second. One of the best hacks that you can have for your marketing, for social media, and for anything is to focus on your company culture. Again, it's like, what the heck? There's a guy from a marketing agency who wants to talk about company culture. It doesn't make sense. I think it does. If your company culture isn't right, it makes everything harder. You think about it, the best marketing you have is a referral machine that your existing patients produce for you, right? They go out into the world and they say, I love my dentist. I think we could reasonably all agree that if you have a happy team, you can feel the vibe in businesses you go into. People like working there. They're having fun. It's more likely people are going to refer to you, right? They're going to have more fun. The same thing bleeds into everything else. That means your website's going to be more vibrant. There are offices, when our team goes, we build websites, but we also take photos and videos. We'll go into offices. Some offices we go into and everybody's shoulders are up. Oh, it's photo day, I hate it. And other offices we walk into and they're already having fun. They said, we brought props. We stayed up all last night cleaning the office. We're having so much fun doing this. Which one do you think has the better photo shoot? And now when you think about what that means for social media, you want to make sure that your team isn't rolling their eyes when you say, guys, let's share what we've built online, right? So get your culture right. Don't overlook this. Your team is your best marketing tool. Make sure as you're rebuilding, and I know a lot of you have questions right now. Again, smarter people than me can answer these, but like everything with the team right now it's hard. So, there's tension there. Make sure that you invest in your team so that as you reopen and move forward, they are part of your marketing plan. They need to be. And here's Dr. Packard. Just if you guys want to see how to do it right, go check out Dr. Packard's website at precisiondental.com. Look at his social media. This guy, his brand is everywhere. I know this is a corny photo, but like that's his team right there. That's what they're like. They all love each other. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. I promise this is my last one. Stock images, fail. Look at this. It's like a perpetual Cialis commercial. I bet you some of you guys have these photos on your website. I think it's time for a change. And in your social media, again, don't let these photos show up in your social media. Okay, authentic imagery, right? Whether it's professional photos and video or candid content, it's the most important part of building your brand on social media. So I would ask you all again to think about the idea that if you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building your practice, maybe you should spend, I don't know, a couple $1,000s doing a photo shoot at some point. Take cash flow problems today out of it. You don't have to do this today. At some point, don't you think you should give yourself a bucket of good photos and video that you can just use for the next couple of years? I think you should. And if you can't, no big deal. Then commit to doing candid content. Set a high bar for your team and yourself and say, I'm proud of what we've built and I'm going to show it off. And someone on your team has got to be good at taking baby photos. My wife and I, again, we have a 4-month-old at home, and I mean, I'm turning into a pro with my phone. These photos are amazing. Find those people on your team that can help you create good candid content, and then stay active. Don't just post something, 3 months ago and come back again. Set a goal, create a calendar to be active 2 to 3 times a week. We post for our clients 3 times a week. I don't think you need to post every day. I think that might be too much. At least once a week. I think that's something we can all set a goal to do. Here's another thing to tune in for. If you guys have not heard me talk before, this is usually one of those tips I always give out. Canva. I think last time I talked to this group, someone messaged me after like, what Canva? How do you spell that? C-A-N-V-A. Literally go on your phone or open a new tab right now and just type in canva.com. I promise it's worth it. This is a tool that most marketing agencies don't want you to know about because it literally is going to turn you into a graphic designer within like 10 minutes. You're going to email your mom and be like, mom, look what I made. And she's going to hang it on the fridge. It's awesome. It's so cool. What you can do is go in and you can search for different types of designs, social media posts, Facebook banners. My wife and I just had a date night a couple weeks ago, and I made I made a menu in here. I wanted to make it special. So I designed a menu. It took me 30 minutes. It's cool. It's so cool. Please check out Canva because you or someone on your team can use this to save marketing dollars, right? You don't have to work with an agency like us to do this right. You can save marketing dollars and still look really professional. And remember, what are we trying to do? Have a consistent brand. You can keep it consistent in here so you don't have all these different fonts and images and colors. Keep it consistent. Canva is a great way to do that. Okay, so if we're going to get the word out and we agree that, we're going to use social media to do that, let's come back to this idea of social videos. I know I've teased it. I've said you should do it. Picking on Dr. Packard again here. You can see this guy just loves doing videos. Here's one. We saw a few emergencies here this morning. Missing our amazing patients so much. Can't wait to see you again. And so, this is just like, he's wearing his heart on his sleeve. Here are some ideas for you. And what I'd like to challenge you guys to do is, if you have a couple days or a week before you reopen, I think every person listening right now, whether you like it or not, you can all make one video for me. You can all make one video and use it and post it on Facebook. Just try it out. You can make it about your reopening. You can make it about updating your procedures and your safety measures. You can talk about services, right? If you say, I don't want to do that, I just want to talk about same-day CEREC crowns. Great. Virtual consults. What a cool way to stand out. And again, if you guys are interested in virtual consults, you can check out our sister company, yourvirtualconsult.com, whole separate conversation. Do team intros, connect people to your team, right? Don't be afraid of doing that. That's another, if you're not someone who likes to talk, let your team talk for you. Look at what Dr. Altimos did. Focus on some office projects. We're seeing people put up cool like spit in their office, new marker or to know where to stand. All sorts of cool. Talk about office projects. And this is the right. Think about the questions. Don't forget to put it on your website and just do the life stuff, right? It doesn't all have to be clinical. I think there's so much to be said for showing a little part of who you are as a human, and our best practices, hands down, are people that are not afraid to be themselves and to be more than a dentist. Because you guys aren't just dentists. You're people. You're unique. You have your own interests. Lean into that. And our best dentists, the ones that are the most successful, are not afraid to show people who they are. And I think the ones that struggle the most are the ones that just want to treat teeth. So find a balance for yourself. There's our classic post, right? This is us just posting an image, hopefully a photo taken from the practice. You can see, look at this here. No graphic designer needed. Someone took this photo. Now, I'll give you another little pro tip. Anytime you're taking photos of kids, crouch down. See how we're looking down at kids? If you're taking photos, you want to get on their level. Crouch down and the photo is going to look better. So that's a fun little tip for you guys. But post a photo of your team, patients, and just a caption talking about what's going on. Don't forget to make your captions part of the post. That's important. You can't just, write one sentence. Tell a story. The longer those captions are, the more people engage with them. So this is an example of what a good post looks like. We got 42 people to engage. And this is, again, during COVID-19. 500 people reached. So that's just to set a benchmark for you guys. Like, this is what a good post could look like. It's really not hard to do. Okay, I told you guys I'd sort of share what a story is. Stories are these vertical up and down videos. Usually they can be photos. And you can string them together to actually talk to people, right? So you could go through your procedures. You could talk about FAQs or services. It's that thing that jumps into people's sort of local TV feed, right? That's what we were talking about before. We do have some templates that you guys can download that are specific to COVID-19. If you don't know how to design something yourself, but you want to talk about how you're taking steps to make sure that people are safe in your office, again, email me and you can just download these templates and kind of string them together. Okay, another big thing. Unfortunately, the way that Facebook and Instagram work, if you don't spend money, they don't let you show up. And it's basically like, let's say you have 1,000 people that follow you, 2% of those 1,000 people will see a post when you post it organically. It's kind of a gut shot, right? It's like, why even do this? I would recommend posting less, but spending a little money on each post to help it get out. And if you've tried to do social media marketing in the past and it's not worked well for you, it's very likely because you have not spent any money on social media. Here's the good news. You don't need to break the bank. Google AdWords, if you're in California, I wouldn't do Google AdWords for less than $1,000 a month in budget. Each market's different. Facebook, you can take $100 and make it go pretty far. You could put $10 or $20 behind each post, and you're going to actually get hundreds, if not 1,000 or more people to see each post. That's a good deal. Here's another real life example. I don't know if you can see this. We spent $450 over the course of about 4 months, so about $100 a month, on a video, and 52,000 people saw that video. So think about this. Some of you probably have a video on YouTube. A marketing agency came to you. They did exactly what I'm doing. Video is so important. You got to do video. And you agreed. You said, yeah, I think it is too. I like watching videos. They're more powerful. And then you paid a bunch of money. You got a video and it's sitting on YouTube with 35 views. How many people have had that story happen, right? I think a lot of you have. Social media is a great way to get video out. Look at that. 52,000 people were reached. That's the kind of thing I think a lot of us could get behind and say, all right, let's make a good video. Or I'll just record it myself and I'll spend a couple $100. I'm going to reach 42,000 people. Sign me up. That sounds like a good way to build my company. Okay, targeting. This is another big one, right? So this is where a lot of times marketing agencies and people that do this professionally have a bit of an advantage. When you do social advertising, whether it's boosting or whether it's doing an actual social ad, those are two different things. You need to define your audience and your targeting. So there's a couple different ways to do this, and I've got some examples over here. You can define a source. So for example, if someone were to go to your website, you can remarket to them. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can upload a customer list. What this means is you can take the emails that your patients give you and put it into Facebook and remarket to them. You can do app activity. We're not going to do that. Or you can also just connect to other things, right? You can connect to people's demographics. You can just say, I want to define a certain group of people. I only want to market to women between the ages of 22 and 45, right? That's my demographic. Or you could go off of, work habits, all sorts of different demographic information. It's really amazing. Here's one little pro tip though. If your office is going to be closed for a little bit, and you are going to take this challenge up and say, I'm going to create a video talking about my new procedures when I open up. Put some money behind that video, blast it out, because now there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, my dentist isn't communicating to me like this dentist is, and I feel more comfortable with what this dentist, you, are outlining as a really safe protocol to come back. So they watch that video. Get this. You can take the audience of people. Think of that last video we had. It had 52,000 people, and you can remarket. You could say, I want to target people that watched a video that I already posted. And now maybe you spent $50 on that video that you didn't get any new patients from, but you can create a second ad that goes back and reaches those same people for a second time, for a third time, for a fourth time with new content that starts to bring them into your practice. That's what sophisticated social media marketing looks like. It's called a funnel, right? Most of us don't make a purchase decision the first time we see a brand. We need to see a second video and a third video and a fourth video that gets us closer to saying, okay, I'm going to make the jump. And then social placement. If you guys are going to run ads, if you're going to boost things, Facebook now has and Instagram now has a bunch of places where you can put those ads. And I'm showing you all of them on the right-hand side. There's your news feed, Instagram feed, marketplace, stories. You can go in apps, in Messenger, all sorts of stuff, guys. I'm going to make it simple. Focus on Facebook and Instagram feeds and stories, and that's it. Because otherwise you're going to waste some of that budget in areas that are less high converting for dentists. Don't go in apps. Apps is not a good place for you guys to be. But feeds and stories, those are the right places to be. And we talked about remarketing a bit. Again, this is this cool idea that if someone were to come on your website, maybe they're not ready to make a decision. It was late at night. They were researching. They're looking at a full mouth restoration case. It's a big decision. This is where you can follow them around a little bit. We've all had this happen. You're looking at a new pair of shoes. You got distracted. Oh, those shoes just keep following you. And I'll be honest, I use remarketing to help me remember things I want to buy. I'll see an ad and say, I'm not ready today, but I hope they show it to me again. Patients probably have the same mindset. And if you don't do it, there's another dentist that will, and it's going to be more likely that that dentist gets that full mouth, all on four case or whatever specialty you're really looking for. That's what you want to remarket for. So, okay, I know we're running a little bit up on our time here. I do want to save time for questions. I want to give you guys, though, some templates for Facebook and Instagram ads that you can use in your practice. These are the ads that we're deploying for our clients. So we're giving you the playbook for free here, and you can copy these if you want to. So if you're still closed, but you want to do that thing that I was telling you about, where you can run an ad and just build up an audience that you can talk to later. Brand awareness you can do. Hey, in city name, our page, point, how it's giving you that, like our page to right, and get more people to like your page. All right. Open for emergencies only. Some of you are still just open for emergencies. This one is just letting people know that you're open. A lot of people they're just lacking information. Their dental office is closed. They can't get a hold of anyone and they're in pain or they have a problem. Seeing someone reach out through the fog and say, hey, here's my hand, I got you, that's a big deal. So again, we've got an example video. If you want to know, like, what should I say, you can watch this video. It's going to give you the blueprint for that. As you start to reopen, you want to have a story again. And for this one, we're basically saying, listen, here's a new patient special offer. Let's hit at one of the objections. People are going to be financially a little nervous. Well, let's give you a nice new patient special offer to get you in the door. And so that's the first thing we lead with: $99 cleaning, exam, and x-ray, no insurance, no problem. We're taking an objection away right off the bat. Reopening soon. So maybe you're not open yet, but you're reopening soon. Get the word out, shout it from the rooftops, refill your schedule. Now, I know some of you are going to have the opposite problem and say, our schedule's jammed. This isn't for you then. That's okay. But for those of you, maybe if you're a newer practice, you said, I got to fill my schedule. Get the word out ahead of time and make sure you have someone manning your phones, or use something like LocalMed to do online scheduling. Okay, here's another one. Again, another refill the schedule. This one is extended hours, right? So if you want to let people know that as they're going back to work, as they're dealing with childcare issues, you're flexing to meet their needs. Start with the big news first. We have extended hours. So in addition to the CDC and state guidance, we're taking extra steps to protect your health and safety. It's just leading from the front. This is exactly the kind of stuff you want to do to make sure people see you as different. And I hope you notice every single example I'm showing you has authentic photos. These are the dentists, the teams that are behind those practices. Some of you that have been around for a while may not like this, but marketing agencies like ours are going to help scratch practices that are our clients go after patients that can't schedule. If you're sitting there saying, oh my gosh, we can't fit people in, it's going to take 2 or 3 months to catch up, we're going to run an ad that says appointments open for dental visits. Are you struggling to book a dental appointment? Your office is available, or our office is available. We're basically saying, listen, you don't have to wait for 2 months. We can get you in now, right? That's going to be an effective strategy for earlier practices. And then we're huge proponents of virtual consults. We've got a script for you if you want to do a video about this, but basically the idea is, make it easy. 1, take a photo. 2, write a message. 3, get a virtual consult. That is something that I think a lot of people are interested in. In our platform, when I log in, we've had, I want to say, close to 300 or 400 patients just this month work with some of our dentists and just fill out a request for virtual consult. Patients want this. So advertise it and get out in front. How many dentists around you are offering this? This is a great way to be different and to stand out. Another one, there's emergency virtual consults, right? So we can help you now. And there's cosmetic. This is a great strategy moving forward. I love this. How many people are sitting on their couch at 10 at night, scrolling through Instagram, looking at other beautiful people, saying, I wish my smile was better. I need to fix it. I need to take it seriously. And if they saw an ad that said, listen, we're going to do a virtual consult in 3 easy steps. We can tell you how we can change your life. How many people do you think are going to sign up for that and say, all right, I'm interested? Great way to start a conversation with some of the cases that I bet a lot of you really want to be seeing. Okay, so this is my last slide here. I want to end where we started. I hope that you guys have some more optimism today and recognize that your practices either are about to reopen or reopening now, and that, you know, we are going to move back to a world in which dentistry is active and thriving as it has been for a long time. But I also hope that we look and remember this bar graph and remember the 2 sides of it, right? You are trusted members of our communities that lead in healthcare. Lead from the front. Don't put your head in the sand. Be someone who speaks out and advocates for your story. Because there's the other side of that bar graph where people are nervous and they're not ready to come back. And I hope that you all reclaim the narrative, if you agree with me, and you become individual voices in your community that says, hey, I'm willing to stand up and I'm willing to say, I am comfortable with the plan I have in place for you to keep you safe. And that can be different for every one of you. We don't have to agree on that part, but be confident in your plan and communicate it to your communities, to your teams, and to your patients, so that that bar goes from 54 to 99 to 100, which is where we want it to be. All right, again, one reminder for those of you that are like, what the heck was that guy's email? It's right there on the screen, michael.anderson@wonderistagency.com. Happy to send you the ebook, happy to send you the presentation with all the resources in here. And I'm gonna pause here and see if there are any questions. I think I saw a few chats come through, but if anyone wants to pipe up and help guide me in those questions, I'm happy to take them.
Michael, that was fantastic. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. You know, I really enjoyed that presentation on social media because it was such a grassroots fundamental approach. If you guys have questions, put them in the Q&A, and there's a few there already. You know, Michael, when you discussed overcoming objections, you know, mentally, one of the objections we all have is we're afraid to start putting ourselves out there and start this social media campaign. Can you tell me, like, what's a baby step? Shoot a video of myself and watch it, and then can you share some stories of people that started doing this and how it inspiring? It's adrenaline for them. They love to put social media out there, like Dr. The one that does the
Altimos.
CrossFit. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Pycott. Yeah. You know, so we've been very lucky to work with a lot of scratch practices. So we've worked with many dentists that are starting, you know, from scratch, which means that when they're building their Facebook page, they're yelling into the void. And I think that what I've found works, and this will be no surprise to anyone, is a plan. You need to set a goal and a plan, and you need to create accountability by declaring your plan, right? Tell your team, tell other people what you're going to do. And that starts to rev the engine. And so I do think, you know, reasonable minds we could all disagree, and you could say, I just don't think social media is the right thing for my practice. Okay. I'm not here to convince you otherwise, but I can 100% tell you that in this moment in time, practices that don't use social media to reach their existing patients and their communities and share what their response is, they're not going to perform as well as the ones that do. So the easiest challenge I can give you all is make sure you have a definitive plan for what the patient experience will be when they come back, and record a video. And it doesn't matter if it's sloppy. If you drop the camera on the ground, pick it up and keep going. It's okay. Don't worry about making the most professional video that you can. That's not the job right now. Make something that's helpful. And that's something your team can refer back to when someone calls and says, well, what can I expect? Go on our Facebook page. While you're there, follow us, because we're going to keep updating people. It's a good way for you to get information. You're growing your audience. That's good. And then you have useful, helpful information there. So I do think that no video is awkward. It's amazing how when you do it a couple times, it gets less awkward. So I would encourage everyone to try and start at that point and make one video walking people through what your plan is to recover. To address people's concerns when they come in the new office, walk them through your new procedures, and post that on your social media. And you know, you can choose to put some money behind it if you want to reach new patients or not. It's totally fine.
That's a great point, Michael. And, my personal opinion is if you get your audio and your lighting correct, the less scripted is better, the more organic and real and engaging you become when you start to shoot that video.
I agree completely. Don't be Facebook and Instagram and social media is about authenticity. And a lot of times something that's less polished, it feels less like a commercial and more like something that's coming from the heart, 100%.
And Michael, I have to be honest with you, been in dentistry for, close to two decades. And a lot of marketing companies have come to me and said, Jonathan, you know all the doctors, put me in front of them. I have a great product. And the question I always ask them immediately, I say, how do you track the ROI on this? And how can you convey to them that every dollar they put into this, they're going to get $2 back? My question to you is sometimes I look at Facebook and Instagram as a persistency play, but at the same time, how do you create campaigns and calls to action so you can track a return on investment on these things?
Yeah, it's so important. And I love that you brought that up. Any marketing campaign needs to be tracked and trackable. It's so important that and this is the secret. Most people don't want to do this. You need to draw out every step along the way. So if we're going to build a campaign together, the first thing that we wanted to say is, what is the desired action we want? So let's do one together. If the desired action we want is for someone to sign up for a virtual consult, now we go back to the beginning and say, what is our value proposition? So let's say that we're going to say our value proposition is convenience in learning about cosmetic dental options. So in 3 easy steps, you get to talk to a doctor. There's our value prop. What's their next step? They need to fill out a form with their name and their email. And then that ultimately gets to that thing that we wanted, which is them signing up for a virtual consult. So we've created a funnel, we understand it, and now we need to track each point. The first point is how many people see the ad. 50,000 people saw the ad. Second step is how many people clicked on the ad and went to the landing page, right? The website that has information about the offer we're making. We had 700 people do that. And how many people filled it out? We had 40 people do that. How much money did we spend? We spent $400. We had 40 people do it. That's $10 cost per acquisition. And then we need to tie it back to our practice numbers. So there's great tools to do this. If you're working with a marketing agency, they need to present you with a clear funnel that says, here's what we spent, here's what people did, and here's the results. If you're doing this on your own, you need to make sure that you understand what those KPIs, those key performance indicators are, so that you can measure success. The number one measure of success from a marketing perspective is going to be the cost per conversion. People get hung up on this all the time. People say, well, what about my cost per click? Marketing agencies can make that cost per click whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You could have the lowest cost per click in the world, and if you're not getting conversions, who cares? So you want to make sure that you're spending the smallest amount you can for the most good conversions that you can. That's the number that you should be focused on. But yeah, absolutely track results. And the other big thing that we always talk about is in dentistry, it's not an e-commerce platform. You're a butts and seats company. Phone calls are still the primary way that you're going to get leads. Use call tracking for everything you can. Call tracking is so important. Social media advertising absolutely works with call tracking. Don't skip that step.
And Michael, you talked a little bit about frequency versus consistency. And I think a lot of mistakes people make is they say, I'm going to post every single day, and it just gets away from them, versus being consistent and saying, I'm going to post once a week and have a consistent message. And that being said, Instagram will often tell me, Michael Anderson's posting, not you, but anyone's posting for the first time in 4 months. And I go, oh, wow, like they've got something to say. And then I go, well, where have they been? So can you tell me a little bit about how your company can help me with my consistency and how I can intermix personal messages with maybe something you guys can load up, me acknowledge and proof, and then you send it out on my behalf?
Yeah. So, listen, my goal for today is to hopefully convince people that social media is a place that you guys need to be active. And I'll be the first to tell you that the best social media comes from offices that can manage it themselves. If you have someone on your team that can own this, then please do that. But we also know that a lot of our dentists, they focus on what they're good at, which is seeing patients, treating patients, and that's what their team does. And a lot of these other things we talk about are not always skill sets for the practices that we work with. And that's where companies like us come in. And so how we work with dentists is we will post 3 times a week on Facebook and Instagram for you. Now, if you go and look at clients that we have, you would swear up and down and say, well, I don't think so. That looks like it's coming from within their office. And so there's 2 things we do. One, we insist on making sure we start with photos and video assets that give us something to use moving forward. And we take those and we repurpose them and redesign them into unique content that gets posted for you 3 times a week. The other thing we do is we send out a weekly email that has a challenge in it, because we have many people that say, listen, I hear what you're saying. I like what you're saying. I totally want to do it. I just don't have, what should I post? I have no idea. So the other thing we do is we send an email that has a specific challenge. Let's say a lot of us are missing baseball. Let's say it's opening day. We're all going to the ballpark. And it's as simple as saying, everybody put on a hat for your favorite team, wear a jersey if you can, and take a photo with the whole team. And ask everybody what their predictions are for the year. It has nothing to do with dentistry, but you're going to get engagement and people are going to think about you, your practice, and your team. And we come up with those weekly challenges, and all you need to do is either take the video, take the photo, and just email it to us. Our team writes the caption, our team does the targeting, our team does the boosting. We come up with all those funnels that we're talking about. What's the objective? What do we want to happen? What's the result? We measure all that. We do that work. We still hold you accountable to help us with that authentic content creation. And so for some teams, that's a great tool to use, and they need that. For other teams, they can do it themselves, and we support both.
Perfect. And Michael, I don't know about you, but I follow a large number of dentists on Instagram. Would you suggest that doctors follow their peers on Instagram just to get an idea of what they're doing so they can see some of the messaging that you and I see every day?
Sure. I think so. I think, listen, everybody's always afraid of, oh, do I copy this person or that? I mean, we all get inspired by learning from other people. And so I certainly would think that's a good thing to do. The one thing I would be careful of, though, is I'm noticing a trend, especially during COVID-19, where I think a lot of dentists are getting creative and trying to scramble. And they're saying, well, let's all follow each other's accounts and let's like everything. That's good. I mean, it's a smart strategy. It's going to build engagement. But at the end of the day, you still want to know your audience. And, maybe if you're a specialist, having a bunch of dentists follow you is like perfect, but at the end of the day, and it's funny, you start going and looking at some of the Instagram accounts for these mega dentists that have 1 million followers. Click into their followers and start to look at the nationalities and the locations of the people that follow them. It's going to be clear pretty quickly that most of those followers were purchased. And so you do have to be careful. There's a lot of gamesmanship in dentistry. My best recommendation is to spend most of your energy focused on getting people in your local community to do this. I'm going to give you guys one example, and this is self-serving, but I hope you guys pay attention. So if you want to follow us at Wonderist Agency on Instagram, here's an example of a campaign we're going to use to grow dentists. I'm just going to tell you how it works, and hopefully some of you participate. Normally we go to conferences and we give away pretty fun t-shirts. If you guys have seen us at conferences before, we have one that says, I do it 14 times a week. It's a little racy. On the back, it's got a toothbrush because we brush our teeth 14 times a week. Kind of cute. So we give these t-shirts out. We have a bunch. So we're going to do some internet giveaways where we're going to say, hey, listen, like our page and mention someone below that you think would like our page too. And you're going to be entered to win a t-shirt giveaway. We're going to give away 10 of them. So we're going to do that in the next week or two. And the reason I bring that up is dentists can do the same thing. It's a good way to build your following of people that you want to follow you. So you can do the same thing, find something you want to give away in your local community and follow the same format. Say, like our page and mention someone else, and we're going to pick someone to give this thing to. And if you can get 100, 200, 500 more actual prospective patients to follow you, it's pretty effective marketing. So those are the kind of things that I would encourage people to think about.
Perfect. And then a question from the chat. When you ask people to check in, is that on Facebook? How do you maximize it?
So checking in is really something that I almost think Foursquare really pioneered. And Foursquare is kind of a dead technology. They still exist as a company that has business information. But Facebook also supports check-ins. And what that means is if someone is at a business, they check in. Oftentimes it displays on their profile. One thing that dentists were doing for a while that was kind of creative, or businesses, is you could provide free Wi-Fi, but people had to check in to do that. My personal opinion is that checking in was something that was tied to strategies that are getting more and more out of date. I think checking in has less of an impact today than it did a year or two ago, but it is still helpful. It's one more way of people to raise their hand and say, look where I am. Really what would be more in vogue today, what would be more effective today, would be to create a system for people to take a photo in your practice and tag your practice. An example of that, and a lot of dentists are doing this now, for $100 or less, you can basically get wallpaper that creates like a photo wall. It's got your logo on the back, or it's got some phrase that people want to take that you can get custom neon signs that say, have a cute expression about, love your smile, and you hang that on your wall. And then you can create a photo booth. I'm going to plug one of my friends in the industry, Kevin Barnett, at High Five Marketing. They do really great email marketing stuff. Definitely someone to pay attention to right now. But they have a tool called Olive. And it kind of like helps you create photo and video in your office. It's like an actual thing, it's like a little robot almost that's there. Check that out. It's really cool. And what it lets you do is it helps people create content in your office, and then they can tag themselves, right? So I would go for people tagging themselves in your office over checking in as a better way to get people's attention. That's going to be the more valuable thing to do right now.
Perfect. And Michael, if 6 months ago, we talked about, we're going to leave our house, where's the most sterile place that we can go within a 20-mile radius? Unequivocally, we would have said the dental office. And now that we've had COVID-19 being passed via aerosols, and one of the largest aerosol environments is now being said to be the dental office. And, that being said, how do we say that the most sterile place in the neighborhood prior to this is still the most sterile place, and even more sterile now? And a little caveat to that, I'm seeing some dentists on their socials, Instagram, a photo of themselves all dolled out in their PPEs, and they look like a robot covered in masks and gloves and everything else. And then some doing really eloquent 1-minute videos about the new protocol when you come to the office and what the patient can expect as far as PPEs. Tell me a little bit about storyboarding and scripting and what you can provide to help people do that.
Yeah, so we do have just written out scripts, and again, I know it's not my style to like plug ebooks and be like, download this. No, this is honestly just a resource we created for our clients, and we gave to them as a roadmap to help rebuild. And we do have scripts in there for people that just are not good off the cuff, want to know how to do this. So if you need that help, reach out and we'll send it. But I like what you're saying here, Jonathan, in that it's more important that you reassure and connect with people than it is that you hide behind, and this is a weird one where normally we say, show, don't tell. I think this is one where you might want to tell and not show. It's more important to let people see you and understand your confidence. But here's the thing, I'm not a dentist, and everybody has different responses here. Some people probably still have concerns and say aerosols are an issue and I don't feel comfortable, and that's okay. I'm not here to convince you otherwise. I just want to make sure that it comes back to the knee-to-knee conversation. Do not put your head in the sand. You need to communicate via email, via social media, and on your website clearly about what it is that you're going to do to keep patients and your team safe. And if your response to that is, I don't think I can keep them safe, then that's fine. But it's important that you do communicate very clearly. Keep the human in it. That's what we started talking about today, right? We wanted to say, let's keep the human in everything. Continue to do that. Don't hide behind your PPE. That's not the right thing to do. And make sure that you're being authentic with your story, which goes back to our original formula that we talked about. It's not just about jumping into procedures. Tell people your story. Talk about what this means to you, and then let them know how you're responding. And honestly, I know a lot of dentists right now are kind of like, how do I communicate with my team? I've got assistants and hygienists that are worried and nervous too. The same formula applies for them too. Bring it back to what it means for you as a business owner, and then talk about what you think the best procedures in place are to keep your team and your staff safe, or your team and your patients safe. I think that's the best way to do it. So just don't put your head in the sand and be authentic.
Perfect. And then Michael, Dr. H is asking, you made a reference along the lines of Instagram is the brand and Facebook is the what? And she missed it.
Facebook's business, right? So the unique thing about Facebook is that it's built for business. It has features specifically for business. You can add your hours of operations. You can have people review you. You can't do that on Instagram, right? Instagram, there's no way to review a business yet that I know of. So that was the distinction that I'm trying to make, is that Facebook gives you these other features and things to think about. So you should post content on both, but maybe your attention on Facebook is more, how do I get reviews? How do I leverage this to promote special offers, things like that? And Instagram, your focus is more, how do I show people the behind the scenes of our office? I'll give you one more example. Anyone that's talking to our company and says, well, maybe I'll do marketing with you, and I'd encourage all of you to do this again. If you want to know what we're about, if you want to know what our culture is about, go on our Instagram, wonderistagency.com, Wonderist Agency is the handle on Instagram, and you're going to learn about what our company is. We're going to show off our team, our office, our work. I'd like for you guys to do the same thing and say, if you want to know what we're about as an office, check out our Instagram. You're going to see the silly stuff we do. There's the team lunch outing that we went on. There's before and after photos, so I show off my work. You can see our office. That's what you should be really focused on Instagram. Bring that into Facebook too. Don't, you can cross post is the word. You can set it up so it automatically posts on both accounts. That's great. Saves time. Expect Instagram to be the place where you interact with more people on your brand in most cases. Sometimes demographic will skew more Facebook, but most of the time Instagram is going to have more interaction if you can build that up. Okay.
Definitely. One of the things a lot of people don't know is that I personally am really good friends with Justin Bieber. And, we're best buddies because, when I look on Instagram, he shows me what he does and he talks about his outings with his wife. And I have that intimacy with him. And not a lot of people realize that. Now he might be talking to me and 10 million other people at the same time, but it helps me build that one-way intimacy with him and his brand and who he really is. And I think some of the best dentists on Instagram are doing the same thing. They're, as you talked about before, giving a little bit of a slice of their personal life. And you said very succinctly, and I loved it, where you draw that line is up to you, whether you let them see your family or your kids or what they do. But I think it is a great way to personalize the experience, because when we're in the dental office, who are we talking to? Someone who has their hands or instruments in our mouth. We don't spend really much personal time with them, but those mediums outside allow us to kind of get to know that person. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And Michael, what about the older dentist, but self-proclaimed older dentist who says, I'm not ready to start this. I don't want to do this. I'm only going to practice for 10 more years. I'm a little older. What do you advise them to do?
I think there's a tough juxtaposition there between I'm an older dentist, can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm going to practice for another 10 years. I just ask everyone to pause for a minute and rewind 10 years. So it's now 2010. What did an iPhone look like? What did social media look like? What did the world that we live in look like? It's very different. And so if anyone is laboring under the impression that they can just ride it out for 10 more years, and not change the way that they're communicating with the world and interacting with their patients, I think they're going to be disappointed. I'll tell you the hardest calls that we get as a marketing agency. We get people that call us up and they say, oh, my practice used to do $1 million a year and now we're at, 650. And, I definitely have relaxed my hours a bit, but I'm getting ready to sell and I'm hoping to sell next year. I'd really like to pump it back up. It's a tough conversation to have. When we were younger and a little less wise, we'd say, oh yeah, absolutely, let's go. But we know now that that's a tough hill to climb back up, and you can, but wouldn't it be better to just do it the right way the whole way, and have good policies and procedures so that your numbers stay up. And when you finally get to a point when you want to retire, I love the expression, you get to go to the bank, or you get to go to the person who's going to transact the deal as a king. You say, look at this great thing I built. I kind of don't want to walk away. It's so good, but I'm ready to enjoy my retirement. That's a much more powerful story than, well, don't look at the P&L for the last 5 years. Look at it, 7 years ago. That's really what this practice should do. That's not a strong story. And social media, I hope, I didn't do my job today if anyone's watched this and said, I don't think social media is relevant in our world. 50% of the world's population spends 2.5 hours on it every day. There's definitely a way for you to grow your practice by getting serious about social media and doing it the right way. The thing I would say again is, if you guys have done this in the past and felt frustrated, the two things you need to remember is have something to say, and you got to spend a little money to push it out. If you do those two things, you'll see success. If you don't expect to see success on social media. It won't happen for you.
Excellent. And just a few more questions, and then I appreciate your time, and everyone here definitely appreciates your time. You talked about getting photos, and I can tell you that one of the ones that always gets me every time is when I'm on Instagram and I see the staff holding up the cards that say "We miss you," and I look at that and I go, "Oh my God, I miss you guys too. I can't wait to come back." Then I realize that's not even my dentist or my office, but I just love that messaging. How important is it to get that photo deck and come in and have someone shoot the staff in the office and then save that somewhere? And do you have any suggestions on how people can call out to someone to get that done for them?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. And I know I've definitely, kicked the dead horse a little too much today, but, dentists are unique in that their businesses are not your typical small business. They are high revenue generating, and they have more ability to do more sophisticated business operations than the average small business. And I think that I continue to shake my head and feel like one of the biggest misses for dentists is that they don't put themselves in a good position to do marketing. And we're talking about social media, but having photos of your practice is just the minimum requirement for having a good website, for sending out a good direct mail piece, for advertising in a good magazine locally, for being active in social media. It's like for everything, right? Like, gosh, you got to do that. And the things that I would do, either one, find a dental specific agency like ours. You're going to pay more. We have an expertise in it. It's going to be more expensive. Find a freelancer locally. You'll pay a little less. They probably won't understand dentistry the same. Or, delegate it to someone on your team. Pull someone in that's hungry and sit them down and say, listen, I've got something I'm excited about, but it's going to be formal. Maybe give them a little raise. Set benchmarks for them and say, here's what we're going to do. I want you, I know you love taking photos outside of work. I'd like you to bring that into work, and here's what we're going to do. And here are my big tips. And, again, if anyone wants to email me about this, we actually have like a shot list, and I'll give it to you guys. It has examples of photos, but here are the big things that you guys got to do. Clean your office to within an inch of its life and take all the clutter off the desks. I don't care if it's normally there. I don't care if you think it needs to be there. Take it off. Magazines gone. I know this one sounds crazy because it's like COVID-19. Take the ugly looking hand sanitizer bottle, get it out of there. It's a fake office for a day. Clean lines, clean surfaces, everything is clean. And then no yearbook photos. If you want to do your own photo shoot or you want to work with someone else, it's super simple. Walk through a patient appointment. Have someone walk in the door. And if you have an iPad or a form, do the awkward photo where someone's literally holding it, smiling. Smiles all the time. I know it's cheesy, it's awkward, smiles is what you need. Someone's holding the form. Next, waiting room. They're sitting waiting. Now this, I know right now, okay, it's crazy. Will we ever use our waiting rooms again? Yes, we will. So plan for that. Back into the, operatory, simulate hygiene. If you're doing any work, don't go crazy and have, shredder. You don't want that. Don't have spreaders in people's mouths. You want to simulate a friendly knee-to-knee, chair-to-chair appointment. And if you're doing photo shoots right now, do it for the future. Maybe it's a risk. People could disagree with me. I think that at some point we're going to get back to a more normal world in which we're not all hiding, right? We're in the middle of it now. Maybe shoot both ways, but at the very least, make sure that you have people connecting and smiling. You don't want something that's scary. And so that is huge. I'll give you guys one more pro tip. If you guys want to do some fun video work and you want something more sophisticated and you want to do it on your own, go to your iTunes store, search for Majesto. And if you guys aren't hearing it, email me after, I'll send it. Majesto is this crazy app. It costs a little money. It might be like $50, but it's worth it. And you can basically like record a bunch of videos and it like edits it together for you. And it looks like you spent $1,000 on it. You can put video on, you can put music on it. It's awesome. So like you guys can do a lot of this stuff on your own. You don't have to work with companies like us. I think we do an amazing job. It's going to look really professional, but if you're on a budget, don't say, I'm not going to do it. Find a way to do it on your terms.
No, it's a great point. And Michael, I can't thank you enough to, to be so unselfish that you're saying, here's how you can do it on your own. We're a great company. And I agree. Wonderist is amazing. And I do refer a lot of people there, but if they can't do it and they have a budget, it's better just to get done and get started than to have that analysis paralysis of not doing it because of budget or money. On the lines of budget and money, one of the last questions I'll ask you, and I want to preface this with pointing out the elephant in the room. As recently as 20 or 30 years ago, it was unethical for a dentist to market or advertise.
Yeah.
You literally hung your shingle, and that's how the term came up. And it was like a 1-inch sign that you could put up stating your name and that you were a dentist. And now we're so rapidly evolving to neon signs and Groupons and marketing. So I think this rapid shift, or this paradigm shift, is startling some people. The question we have here is, how would you allocate a marketing budget with Google AdWords versus Facebook versus Yelp? And maybe even go a step further, Michael, and allocate my entire marketing budget to snail mail or postcards or giveaway items. A marketing budget, please.
Yeah, it's tough to do that. Just it sounds like a cop out to say every market is different, and so it goes back to sort of where I started in saying that most people come in and they say, well, what channels work? What channel is going to be the magic bullet for me? And it's different for everybody, and it really has more to do with what you're going to say. But I will give you some specific numbers. I think for most of our dental practices, if you're a scratch practice or early, you're going to spend 7% of your target production in your marketing. There's going to be some startup costs, a website, video, photo, stuff that you're not going to sunk cost, right? But at maturity, a practice that's been open for 3 years, 2 to 3 years, or more, should plan on spending 5% of their marketing budget on, 5% of their total budget on marketing. And then a practice that gets even more mature may pull that back more. They may say, listen, we've got a really active patient base. It's a great referral network for us, and we just don't need to do that much marketing. And that's fine. We get people that call us sometimes and we say, it just doesn't sound like you need a marketing agency. It doesn't sound like you do. You're getting 100 new patients a month. It's mostly word of mouth and insurance. And maybe we'll focus on all on 4 cases. We'll really go after those specific ones. When it comes to other channels, I'm going to speak to the budget you should spend for the ad budget. I'm not going to speak to the management fees because every agency is different. I'm telling you, one of the things I want to do personally, and it's self-serving. I think one of the hardest things for dentists is it's hard to interview marketing agencies and know the difference between them, because they sound this, we track results, authentic this, whatever. But, from a marketing agency, much like a dentist, if you look at other dentists, you know the difference, right? You can see it in their price, their structure. We know that too. So there's marketing agencies on the low end. They'll charge you $200 a month for a website and SEO and AdWords and everything. They press a button and walk away. That's what happens. And then, we're more on the middle high end. I'll wreck that for everybody. We're not the cheapest place, but we employ a bunch of people that really have a head on their shoulders and care. And so I'm not going to speak about the cost there because it's all over the place. Here's what you should plan on. Facebook ads. You could spend a minimum of $100 a month. I think for most people starting out, $100 to $500 is a good range. You can do a lot of damage with that. You can get your word out. You can get new patients for that. We've run funnels before specifically for virtual consult where we'll spend $80 and get 80 leads. We had to turn it off. They're not all good leads. Be wary when you see marketers say $80 for 80 leads. It's not 80 new patients. Maybe 3 or 4 of those will be good leads, but that's still a great deal, right? Then for Google AdWords, if most people are in California or in any sort of metro area, $1,000 minimum. If you're spending less than that, you're not getting any market penetration. And the way AdWords works is you can squeeze the data down. You can look at what keywords you search for, which ones are working, which ones aren't, and you can optimize it. And you need data to make decisions. And $500 a month is not enough. You need to spend $1,000 a month and your campaign will get better over time. And hopefully you say, I'm going to spend more because it's working well. So those are the big budget ones. Direct mail tends to work well in communities that are middle class communities, slightly older skewing. They do not work as well in more affluent areas because most of those people are well-educated patients, well-researched. They already have a practice they're loyal to. And the other big thing with direct mail drops that I would say is you need to commit to some level of frequency. Don't do one direct mail drop and hope it works. It probably won't. You're not going to see good results just because you do one, unless you have something compelling to say. You see how that's coming back around. If I were to say, come to our dental office and get a free trip to Hawaii, we'd get great results. Might not be good for business, but that's an example of having something to say, changing the results, right? But you need frequency. So plan on doing at least 3 drops over an abbreviated period of time. 3 months, is kind of like the max I'd go. And you'll start to see some better results in certain areas that are middle class, middle income areas. That would be my recommendation there. I might be missing some other areas, but again, 5% of overall collections should be kind of allocated towards your marketing budget if you want to be more aggressive.
Perfect. And I think we addressed it, but one thing I don't know that was mentioned is that sometimes when we do Instagram and Facebook, we're marketing, but we're also marketing to our existing patients. And from a marketing perspective, it's easier to maintain the wallets we have than acquire new wallets. It sounds like a tough thing to say, but to get new people, but to maintain the tribe we have and build raving fans, that's one of the reasons we use Instagram and Facebook. Is that also correct?
Totally. And you think about, I think one of the challenges that people are going to have this year is, the difference financially for dentists between people that come in every 6 months for their cleaning and every 8 months is going to be felt in a year. So if you have people that just say, I'm going to kick the can for 2, 3, 4 months, it's going to have a financial impact. And so I think a lot of what we're doing as a marketing agency right now is refocusing on communicating to patients and starting there. And then we're going to, go back and look at existing patients. Go back and look at new patients. But yeah, and for so many reasons, and this is where you have to be creative. You can also do, creative giveaways for patients and say, hey, we want to give back to you guys. Can you mention another family that would like to go to Disney on Ice with you? Right? And they start tagging in other families because you're going to send both of their families to Disney on Ice. You're going to pick one family to do this. Well, how many new families just found out about your practice and thought to themselves, this is way better than my dentist? Interesting strategy, right? It's both focusing on existing patients while getting new patients, or soliciting, saying, can you guys please leave a review for us? We'd really like to do that. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with your existing patient base. One of the most underutilized marketing channels by all dentists. They don't take them for granted. They're your best way to get new patients. Absolutely.
Awesome, Michael. We're running up close to 2 hours, and I definitely appreciate the time. I can't imagine that you're getting as much sleep as you were getting 6 months ago now that you have a young child at home.
We're doing okay. He's such a good little boy. I know last time I spoke, I put a photo of him up, and I figured I probably couldn't do that 2 presentations in a row, but yeah, he's a good sleeper, just like his mom and dad. And so we're very, very happy, lucky parents. And it was wonderful to have first Mother's Day with Laura. So happy belated Mother's Day to any moms that are listening right now. And yeah, thank you guys for letting me ramble for 2 hours here. And I hope there are at least a couple nuggets that will help you guys reopen. And again, the world is going to go back to a place where dental offices are functioning at a high capacity. We know that. And so again, think 5 years forward. What do you expect for yourselves? And I hope we can put plans in place today that will get us there and do it effectively.
Awesome. And Michael, I can't appreciate you enough. Your contact information is there on the screen. I've never seen someone give out so many pro tips. You must have said pro tip 14 times. And every time you said it, I grabbed my pen and I started scribbling the information down as quickly as I could. I put a lot of the links in the chat, the BoomCloud apps, your email address, the canva.com. Wow. Just wow. So I appreciate it. Everyone here appreciates it. We still have a lot of people here left in the room. We went a long time, and I do apologize. And I almost feel like I wanted to keep talking to you for another hour or two. Anyone who feels that way, I would definitely suggest they can go ahead and reach out to you, get this free ebook, correct, and look at the information.
Yep. Ebook. I can also send the slides out because I know I was referencing some like templates and stuff in the slides. You guys can get those too.
Awesome. And Michael, it's a tough time for everybody. You realize that, and you've addressed that. I want to throw it back to you for 10 or 15 seconds. Parting words of wisdom. Help us get through this. We're going to reopen soon. Just a little bit of encouragement from you, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up and end the call.
Yeah. I'll share a story from this weekend. We had, my wife and I got out for Mother's Day, and we drove up to Fallbrook, and there is it's a winery, but I think they also do Christmas trees. It's one of those places. And the people that own this business, I think, got together and said, we, maybe like a lot of dentists, we really are anxious and ready for life to have some trappings of normalcy. And we want to let people decide how to behave responsibly and support the fact that we want to socially distance, sit far apart, all this. And we went up there, and it was just wonderful. It was a warm day. We went up to a outdoor bar. We ordered a bottle of wine. We sat down. There were kids playing and running around. A lot of people didn't have masks on. We ordered food. They brought it to us. And it was powerful. It was emotional. I almost found myself a couple moments just like choking back some emotion because, it's amazing how 2 months of being in our homes, I think we all feel that moment of like, it's almost like we're afraid to put our hand out and shake someone's hand, or we don't know how to be around other people. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful to have that feeling again of like, this is what being human is. And we are going to get back there. I experienced it this weekend. It was great. I know we need to responsibly move back. So I'm not, not this extreme person that's like, screw it. We don't need to worry about anyone else. We do, but we also need to, maybe the thing I want to leave you with is, we're working towards a vaccine for this disease. We're working for procedures to keep people safe. We also have to have medicine for our soul. And that medicine, a lot of times, is other people. And so I hope that you all got a little bit of that this weekend for Mother's Day, whether it was virtually or not. And I think people and connection are the thing that's going to get us all back together. And I'm firmly convinced that while we step through a couple weeks of getting closer to connecting with people, we're going to build that confidence, all the while remembering that our goal right now, as we start to go back to work, more people will get sick, more people will die. We have to manage that effectively. And that's where our medical community comes in to be able to say, listen, we've got the PPE in place, we've got the procedures in place. And so please lean into the people in your lives. It certainly has helped us. And again, I appreciate the time and I appreciate you all listening to me editorialize and ramble a little bit here. So have a great week.
Awesome. Michael, good stuff. I can tell you that customarily I close out the call with my own words of wisdom, but I love what you just said, and I don't want to take away from that. And I want to leave that as the last thought in these people's minds as they close out this call. But again, Michael Anderson, michael.anderson@wonderistagency.com. Please contact him if you have any questions. Wow. Michael, I appreciate the time. Everyone here, I appreciate you being on the call and being with us. And with that, we're going to close it out. Michael, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.